Shri Gurubhyo Namaha, and welcome to the Sri Vidya Temple's online classes in chanting. We are currently doing a series on Sri Lalita Sahasranama, which is a very auspicious stotram containing the 1,000 names of Sri Lalita Devi. Before I start, I just want to mention a couple of things. We have a couple of really amazing programs coming up done by the temple. One is on May 4th in New Jersey, which is a Vastra Archana, which will be performed with the Sri Lalita Sahasranama Vali. And then there's also a program at the temple in Rochester, New York on May 10th, which will be a Laksha Kunkumarchana with chanting of Sri Lalita Sahasranama Stotram. So those are two very powerful programs coming up that you can go to the temple website and take a look at more information about that. Okay, so we'll start the class with Ganapati prayer. Om Shuklambaradharam Vishnum Shashivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasannavadanam Dhyayet Sarva Viknopashantaye. Okay, Shri Gurubhyo Namaha, Shri Matre Namaha. In the last class, we were going through the beginning parts of the stotram, like the Viniyoga, the Karanyasa, and so on, the Dhyana shlokas. And there was a question about doing the Pancha Puja or Pancha Mahabhuta Puja. So even though we don't have that in the text of the Devi Padaka's book, and we don't generally chant that in the temple, probably because we're already doing so much of puja as part of the Saturday program when we normally chant the stotram. But if people are doing parayanam in their own homes, then it's very good to do the Pancha Puja as part of the stotra parayanam as well. So this is something that is done typically in the beginning and the end of the stotram. So it would be, for example, after you chant the Dhyana shlokas, you could chant the Pancha Puja. And then you would start with Om Aim Hrim Shrim, Shri Matre Namah Shrim, and then start the stotram. And if doing it after the end of the stotram, you could just do it as the very final thing after you do the closing nyasam. Okay. And there are two main ways of doing this. So one is where it's more of a mental offering, and one is where you actually could make physical offerings if you wanted to incorporate a puja in that way. So that's perfectly fine to do either way. But we'll just imagine that people are doing it mentally. And so when you do it mentally, there are certain hand motions that you do, and it's similar to Karanyasa, but the order is different. So it's a little bit tricky when you're not used to it. So first I'll just go through the what you actually chant, and then I'll show the hand motions. Just 1 minute. Okay. So the Pancha Puja is in honor of the 5 elements, and it's correlating each element with one of the upacharas, one of the offerings to Divine Mother. And there's also 5 bija mantras that also correspond to 5 of the chakras that are listed in these lines that we chant. So the first one is Lam Prithivyat Mane, or some places you might see it as Prithivyat Nikaye, but Lam Prithivyat Mane Sri Lalita Devi Gandham Parikalpayami. So Parikalpayami is what we would say if we are doing this mentally. Samarpayami is what we could say if we're offering the items physically. So first is Lam Prithivyat Mane Sri Lalita Devi Gandham Parikalpayami. Then we have Ham akashatmane Sri Lalita Devyai pushpam parikalpayami. So for the element of space, we're offering a flower mentally. Yam Vaivatmikaye Sri Lalita Devyai dhupam parikalpayami. So that's the incense offering. And then Ram Agnyat Mane Sri Lalita Devyai Deepam Parikalpayami. Then we have Vam Amritat Mane Sri Lalita Devyai Amrita Mahanevedyam Parikalpayami. For the element of water, which is like nectar, we offer the Naivedyam or food. And then finally, after these five, we say Sam Sarvatmane, or the soul of everything. Shri Lalita Devyai Sarvopachara Pujam Parikalpayami. So every kind of offering is what we make mentally at the end. Okay, so to show let's see if I can, okay, it's a little bit hard with the background. Okay, so this might not be visible, so I'll just describe the motions. So imagine that you're doing Karanyasa, but you're starting with the pinkies. So you're starting with the thumbs at the base of the pinkies, and then you roll them down to the end. So Lam Prithivyaatmane Shri Lalita Devyai Gandham Parikalpayami. Then you go to the thumb. So with the four fingers at the base of the thumb, you say Ham Akashatmane Shri Lalita Devyai Pushpam Parikalpayami. Then you go to the forefinger. So the thumb is at the base of the forefinger, and you do the next one. And then you do the middle finger. And then finally, Vam Amritatmane Shri Lalita Devyai Amritam Mahanaivedyam Parikalpayami. So the ring finger is for Vam. Okay, then finally for Sam, you can put the hands in Namaskara Mudra and say Sam Sarvatmane Sri Lalita Devyai Sarvopachara Pujam Parikalpayami. Okay, so that is how you would do it as mental offerings. Okay, so if there are any questions, we can talk more about that at the end. Okay, but I'd like to go right into the actual lines of the stotram. So last time we had done up through, I think, the 6th shloka. So we'll go ahead and start with the 7th shloka. And just as a reminder, what I'll do is I'll chant each half line 3 times. So the first half of the line 3 times, and then I'll do the second half of the line 3 times. And then I'll do the full line 3 times, and I'll go through it like that. So what you can do is you can listen the first time and then join in on the second and third times as practice. And if there are any lines or words that you find tricky or you have questions about, please just make a note of that. And you can ask that when I take a pause. Okay, so we'll start with the 7th.
Sorry, Amma, sorry. I think we did from 1 to 5.
Oh, we only did 1 to 5.
Vedanavi Vikleshaka is when we finished it. So
okay. All right. Thanks for the reminder. So we'll be starting with the 6th shloka. Vadanasmara Mangalya Vadanasmara Mangalya Vadanasmara Mangalya Gruhatorana Jallika Gruhatorana Jallika Gruhatorana Jallika Vadanasmara Mangalya Gruhatorana Jallika Vadanasmara Mangalya Gruhatorana Jallika Vadanasmara Mangalya Gruhatorana Jallika. Next line. Vaktra Lakshmi Parivaha Vaktra Lakshmi Parivaha वक्त्रलक्ष्मी परिवाह चलन्मीनाभलोचना 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 वक्त्रलक्ष्मी परिवाह चलन्मीनाभलोचना वक्त्रलक्ष्मी परिवाह चलन्मीनाभलोचना वक्त्रलक्ष्मी परिवाह चलन्मीनाभलोचना. Next line. नवचम्पकपुष्पाभ 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 नासादण्डविराजिता नासादण्डविराजिता नासादण्डविराजिता. Okay, now the full line. नवचम्पकपुष्पाभनासादण्डविराजिता नवचम्पकपुष्पाभनासादण्डविराजिता नवचम्पकपुष्पाभनासादण्डविराजिता. Next line. ताराकान्तितिरस्कारी 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 नासाभरणभासुरा 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 ताराकान्तितिरस्कारी नासाभरणभासुरा ताराकान्तितिरस्कारी नासाभरणभासुरा ताराकान्तितिरस्कारी नासाभरणभासुरा. Next line. कदम्बमञ्जरीकृप्त 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 कर्णपूरमनोहरा 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 कदम्बमञ्जरीकृप्त कर्णपूरमनोहरा कदम्बमञ्जरीकृप्त कर्णपूरमनोहरा कदम्बमञ्जरीकृप्त कर्णपूरमनोहरा. Next line. ताटङ्कयुगलीभूत 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 तपनोडुपमण्डल 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 ताटङ्कयुगलीभूत तपनोडुपमण्डल ताटङ्कयुगलीभूत तपनोडुपमण्डल ताटङ्कयुगलीभूत तपनोडुपमण्डल. Next line. पद्मरागशिलादर्श 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 परिभाविकपोलभूः 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 पद्मरागशिलादर्श परिभाविकपोलभूः पद्मरागशिलादर्श परिभाविकपोलभूः पद्मरागशिलादर्श परिभाविकपोलभूः. Next line. नवविद्रुमबिम्बश्री 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 न्यक्कारिरदनच्छदा न्यक्कारिरदनच्छदा न्यक्कारिरदनच्छदा. So when I do the full line, pay attention to the holding after dirgha that we have in the middle of the line. So we have bimbashri, and then following that is nya in nyakkari. So there's holding on the in. Bimbashri nyakkari. Okay, so pay attention to that. Navavitruma bimbashri nyakkariradhanachada. Navavitruma bimbashri nyakkariradhanachada. Navavitruma bimbashri nyakkariradhanachada. Next line. Shuddha Vidyankurakara. Shuddha Vidyankurakara. Shuddha Vidyankurakara. Dvija Panktitvayochvala. Dvija Panktitvayochvala. Dvija Panktitvayochvala. Shuddha Vidyankurakara. Dvija Panktitvayochvala. Shuddha Vidyankurakara. Dvija Panktitvayochvala. Shuddha Vidyankurakara. Dvija Panktitvayochvala. Next line. Karpuravidikamoda. 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 Samakarshatiganttara. 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 Karpuravidikamoda samakarshatiganttara. Karpuravidikamoda samakarshatiganttara. Karpuravidikamoda samakarshatiganttara. Okay, so that's the 10th shloka. So I'll just take a pause here and see if anyone has any questions on the last 5 shlokas.
Amma, I have a...
Yes.
In my document, it says Samagarshit. It doesn't say Shat. Garshat. It says Garshit.
Garshit. As far as I know, it should be Samakarshad.
Garshad.
Samakarshad Digantara. But I will check with a couple other sources, just like a cross check, and I will put a note in the WhatsApp learning group.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, I'll do that. No problem. Any other questions? Okay, so what I'll do is I'll go back to the 6th shloka and chant the last 5 altogether. वदनस्मरमाङ्गल्यगृहतोरणचिल्लिका वक्त्रलक्ष्मी परिवाहचलन्मीनाभलोचना नवचम्पकपुष्पाभना दण्डविराजिता ताराकान्तितिरस्कारिनासाभरणभासुरा कदम्बमञ्जरी क्लृप्तकर्णपूरमनोहरा ताडङ्कयुगळीभूततपनोडुपमण्डला पद्मरागशिलादर्शपरिभाविकपोलभूः नवविद्रुमबिम्बश्रीन्यक्कारिरदनच्छदा शुद्धविद्याङ्कुराकारद्विजपङ्क्तित्वयोज्ज्वला कर्पूरवीटिकामोदसमाकर्षत्तिगन्तरा. Okay, so going on with the 11th shloka. Nijasallapamadhurya 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 Vinirbhartsitakachhapi 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 Nijasallapamadhurya Vinirbhartsitakachhapi Nijasallapamadhurya Vinirbhartsitakachhapi Nijasallapamadhurya Vinirbhartsitakachhapi. Next line. Mandasmitaprabhapura 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 Majjatkameshamanasa 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 Mandasmitaprabhapura Majjatkameshamanasa Mandasmitaprabhapura Majjatkameshamanasa Mandasmitaprabhapura Majjatkameshamanasa. Next line. Anakalita sadrushya Anakalita sadrushya Anakalita sadrushya Chibuka Shri Virajita Chibuka Shri Virajita Chibuka Shri Virajita Anakalita sadrushya Chibuka Shri Virajita Anakalita sadrushya Chibuka Shri Virajita Anakalita sadrushya Chibuka Shri Virajita. Next line. Kamesha Baddhamangalya Kamesha Baddhamangalya Kamesha Baddhamangalya Sutra Shobhita Kandhara Sutra Shobhita Kandhara Sutra Shobhita Kandhara Kamesha Baddhamangalya Sutra Shobhita Kandhara Kamesha Baddhamangalya Sutra Shobhita Kandhara कामेशबद्धमाङ्गल्यसूत्रशोभितकन्धर. Next line. कनकाङ्गदकेयूर 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 कमनीयभुजान्विता 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 कनकाङ्गदकेयूर कमनीयभुजान्विता कनकाङ्गदकेयूर कमनीयभुजान्विता कनकाङ्गदकेयूर कमनीयभुजान्विता. Next line. रत्नक्रैवेयचिन्ताक 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 लोलमुक्ता फलान्विता लोलमुक्ता फलान्विता लोलमुक्ता फलान्विता. Now the full line. रत्नक्रैवेयचिन्ताकलोलमुक्ता फलान्विता रत्नक्रैवेयचिन्ताकलोलमुक्ता फलान्विता रत्नक्रैवेयचिन्ताकलोलमुक्ता फलान्विता. Now the next line. कामेश्वर प्रेमरत्न कामेश्वर प्रेमरत्न कामेश्वर प्रेमरत्न मणिप्रतिपणस्तनी 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 कामेश्वर प्रेमरत्नमणिप्रतिपणस्तनी कामेश्वर प्रेमरत्नमणिप्रतिपणस्तनी कामेश्वर प्रेमरत्नमणिप्रतिपणस्तनी. Next line. नाभ्यालवालरोमाणि 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 लताफलकुचत्वहि 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 नाभ्यालवालरोमाणि लताफलकुचत्वहि नाभ्यालवालरोमाणि लताफलकुचत्वहि नाभ्यालवालरोमाणि लताफलकुचत्वहि. Next line. So before I start, I just want to point out that in this particular line, there's a single word that straddles the first and the second half. So this word dharata, the dhara is belonging to the first half and the ta is belonging to the second half. So I am going to split up this word because I'm demonstrating the chanting of the first half and the second half of the line. But please keep in mind that it is one word and it should be chanted all together, so we're not changing the meaning. I'm simply breaking it apart to make it clear the first half and the second half of the line. Okay. Laksharomalatadhara Laksharomalatadhara लक्ष्यरोमलताधार तासामुन्नेय मध्यमा तासामुन्नेय मध्यमा तासामुन्नेय मध्यमा. So when I do the full line, just notice the pronunciation with the melody of the word dharata. Laksharomalata dharata samunneya madhyama. Laksharomalata dharata samunneya madhyama. Laksharomalata dharata samunneya madhyama. So notice how the word dharata is chanted. Dharata, dharata, dharata samunneya madhyama. Okay, so hope that's clear. Now the next line. Stana bharadalan madhya. Stana bharadalan madhya. Stana bharadalan madhya. Pattabandhavalitraya. 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 Stanabharadalan madhya pattabandhavalitraya. Stanabharadalan madhya pattabandhavalitraya. Stanabharadalan madhya pattabandhavalitraya. Okay, so I'll pause here to see if anyone has any questions. Okay. So now I'll go back to the 11th shloka and chant the last 5 shlokas. Nija sallapa madhurya vinirbhartsita kachhabi mandasmita prabhapura machat kamesha manasa anakalita sadrusya chibuka Sri Virajita कामेशबद्धमाङ्गल्य सूत्रशोभितकन्धरा कनकाङ्गदकेयूरकमनीय भुजान्विता रत्नक्रैवेयचिन्ताकलोलमुक्ता फलान्विता कामेश्वर प्रेमरत्नमणिप्रतिपणस्तनी नाभ्यालवालरोमाणि लता फलकुचत्वयी लक्ष्यरोमलता धारता समुन्नेय मध्यमा स्तनभारदलन्मध्यपट्टबन्धवलित्रया. Okay, we'll go on to the 16th shloka. Arunarunakausambh 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 Vastrabhasvatkatitati 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 Arunarunakausambh Vastrabhasvatkatitati Arunarunakausambh Vastrabhasvatkatitati Arunarunakausambh Vastrabhasvatkatitati. Next line. Ratnakinkirikaramya 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 Rashanadama bhushita रशनादामभूषिता रशनादामभूषिता रत्नकिङ्किणिकारम्यरशनादामभूषिता रत्नकिङ्किणिकारम्यरशनादामभूषिता रत्नकिङ्किणिकारम्यरशनादामभूषिता. Next line. कामेशज्ञातसौभाग्य 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 मार्तवोरुद्वयान्विता 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 कामेशज्ञातसौभाग्यमार्तवोरुद्वयान्विता कामेशज्ञातसौभाग्यमार्तवोरुद्वयान्विता कामेशज्ञातसौभाग्यमार्तवोरुद्वयान्विता. Next line. माणिक्यमकुटाकार 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 जानुद्वयविराजिता 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 माणिक्यमकुटाकार जानुद्वयविराजिता माणिक्यमकुटाकार जानुद्वयविराजिता माणिक्यमकुटाकार जानुद्वयविराजिता. So in this line, you may see mukutakara, manikya mukutakara. That's one other variation. That's very common. Next line. Indragopaparikshipta, 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 Smaraturna bhajanghika, Smaraturna bhajanghika, Smaraturna bhajanghika. Indragopaparikshipta Smaraturna bhajanghika. Indragopaparikshipta Smaraturna bhajanghika. Indragopaparikshipta Smaraturna bhajanghika. Next line. Gudha kurma prashtha, Gudha kurma prashtha, Gudha kurma prashtha, Jayashnu prapadanvita, Jayashnu prapadanvita, Jayashnu prapadanvita. So in this line, it's a little bit tricky in the first half because there are 3 Mahapranas. We have Gudha, Gulpa, and then Gurushtha. So we have Dha, Ha, and Shtha. Okay, so those are a little bit challenging and they are worth some extra practice. So now I'll do the full line. Gudha gulpa kurma prashtha jayashnu prapadanvita. Gudha gulpa kurma prashtha jayashnu prapadanvita. Gudha gulpa kurma prashtha jayashnu prapadanvita. Next line. Again, this one will have 3 Mahapranas in the first half of the line itself. Nakhadidhiti sanchanna, nakhadidhiti sanchanna, nakhadidhiti sanchanna, namajjanatamo guna, namajjanatamo guna, namajjanatamo guna. Nakhadidhiti sanchanna namajjanatamo guna. Nakhadidhiti sanchanna namajjanatamo guna. Nakhadidhiti sanchanna namajjanatamo guna. Next line. Padadvaya prabhajala, padadvaya prabhajala, padadvaya prabhajala, parakruta saroruha, parakruta saroruha, parakruta saroruha. Padadvaya prabhajala, parakruta saroruha, Padatvaya prabhajala parakruta saroruha. Padatvaya prabhajala parakruta saroruha. Next slide. Shinjanamani manjira. Shinjanamani manjira. Shinjanamani manjira, mandita shripadambuja, mandita shripadambuja, mandita shripadambuja. Shinjanamani manjira, mandita shripadambuja, Shinjanamani. Excuse me. Shinjanamani manjira mandita shripadambuja. Shinjanamani manjira mandita shripadambuja. Shinjanamani manjira mandita shripadambuja. Next line. Marali mandagamana, Marali mandagamana, Marali mandagamana, Mahalavanya shevadhihi, Mahalavanya shevadhihi, Mahalavanya shevadhihi. Now the full line. Marali mandagamana mahalavanya shevadhihi. Marali mandagamana mahalavanya shevadhihi. Marali mandagamana mahalavanya shevadhihi. Okay, so I'll stop there and see if there are any questions. Okay, so now I'll go back to the 16th shloka and chant the last 5. Aruna Aruna Kausumbha Vastra Bhasvat Tati Ratna Kinkini Karamya Rashanadama Bhushita Kamesha Jnata Saubhakyamartavoruddvayanvita Manikyamakutakara Janudvaya Virajita Indragopa Parikshipta Smaratorna Bhajanghika Gudha Gulpha Kurma Prashtha Jayashnu प्रपदान्विता नखदीधिति सञ्छन्ननमज्जनतमो गुणा पदद्वयप्रभाजालपराकृतसरोरुहा शिञ्जानमणिमञ्जीरमण्डितश्रीपदाम्बुजा मराळी मन्दगमना महालावण्यशेवधिः. Okay, next line. सर्वारुणानवत्याङ्गे 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 सर्वाभरणभूषिता 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 सर्वारुणानवत्याङ्गे सर्वाभरणभूषिता सर्वारुणानवत्याङ्गे सर्वाभरणभूषिता सर्वारुणानवत्याङ्गे सर्वाभरणभूषिता. Next line. शिवकामेश्वराङ्कस्था 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 शिवास्वाधीनवल्लभा 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 शिवकामेश्वराङ्कस्था शिवास्वाधीनवल्लभा शिवकामेश्वराङ्कस्था शिवास्वाधीनवल्लभा शिवकामेश्वराङ्कस्था शिवास्वाधीनवल्लभा. So in this line, we have a number of cases of holding after dirgha. And in this class series, because it's a review and I've already done a more lengthy in detail class, I'm not really pointing out every case of Mahaprana or every case of holding after dirgha, because I'm expecting that those who are watching these classes have already learned and are already understanding how to look for those cases. So just because I don't mention it, that doesn't mean it's not there. Please be sure that you are watching out for those situations. But just to point out in this particular line, we have Kameshwara, Kameshwara. So Eshwara is holding Eshva, holding after dirgha. And then Ankastha, Kameshwarankastha. So the Ang in Ankastha is holding after dirgha. And then again, Shiva Svadhina. So even though they're two separate words, they're still holding after dirgha because the Sva is coming after the A in Shiva. So we have Shiva Svadhina, Shiva Svadhina. Okay, just wanted to point that out. Because it's very common when the holding after dirgha comes in two separate words, it's very common that we miss that and we don't pronounce the holding in that case. But I just wanted to point that out because it is a very finer point for really subtle fine tuning of your chanting. But one thing that happens is that when you have a line that has a lot of this holding after dirgha, it takes longer to chant. And so you may also run out of breath a little bit. So as you practice chanting, it's good to practice taking in a deep breath so that you can chant the entire line whenever possible in a single breath. It's always ideal to do that whenever it's possible. Okay. So that was the 21st shloka. So now I'll go on to the 22nd. Sumeru madhya shrangastha, Sumeru madhya shrangastha, Sumeru madhya shrangastha, Shrimanagaranahika, Shrimanagaranahika, Shrimanagaranahika. Sumeru madhya shrangastha, Shrimanagaranahika. Sumeru madhya shrangastha, Shrimanagaranahika. Sumeru madhya shrangastha, Shrimanagaranahika. So in this line, we have shrangastha, but there's no holding on the ish. And then we have Shriman, but there is holding on the ish in that case. So we want to make sure that we understand why that is. So in the shru, in shrangastha, the r is the r vowel. It's not a consonant. So the shru in shrangastha is not a conjunct akshara. It's not a sanyukta akshara. So therefore, there's no holding. So we pronounce that as madhya shrangastha, madhya shrangastha. Whereas in the word Shriman, the ri or the ra in Shri is a consonant. So Shri is a conjunct akshara, and that's why we have holding. And further, it's holding after dirgha. So we have Shrangastha Shriman, Shrangastha Shriman. Okay, so make sure that when you're looking at the ra, you're distinguishing between whether it's a vowel and whether it's a consonant, because that will impact very often whether there's holding or not. Okay, now the next line. Chintamani gruhantastha, Chintamani gruhantastha, Chintamani gruhantastha, Pancha brahmasanasthita, Pancha brahmasanasthita, Pancha brahmasanasthita, Chintamani gruhantastha, Pancha brahmasanasthita, Chintamani gruhantastha, Pancha brahmasanasthita, Chintamani gruhantastha, Pancha brahmasanasthita. Next line. Mahapadmartavi samstha, Mahapadmartavi samstha, Mahapadmartavi samstha, Kadambavanavasini, Kadambavanavasini, Kadambavanavasini. Mahapadmartavi samstha, Kadambavanavasini, Mahapadmartavi samstha, Kadambavanavasini, Mahapadmartavi samstha, Kadambavanavasini. Next line. Sudha sagara madhyastha, Sudha sagara madhyastha, Sudha sagara madhyastha, Kamakshi kamadahini, Kamakshi kamadahini, Kamakshi kamadahini, Sudha sagara madhyastha, Kamakshi kamadahini, Sudha sagara madhyastha, Kamakshi kamadahini. Sudha Sagar Madhyastha Kamakshi Kamadahini. Next line. Devarshi Gana Sanghata. Devarshi Gana Sanghata. Devarshi Gana Sanghata. Stuyamanatma Vaibhava. Stuyamanatma Vaibhava. Stuyamanatma Vaibhava. Devarshigana Sanghatastuyamanatma Vaibhava. Devarshigana Sanghatastuyamanatma Vaibhava. Devarshigana Sanghatastuyamanatma Vaibhava. Next line. Bhandasuravadhotyukta. Bhandasuravadhotyukta. Bhandasuravadhodyukta. Shakti Sena Samandita. Shakti Sena Samandita. Shakti Sena Samandita. Bhandasuravadhodyukta Shakti Sena Samandita. Bhandasuravadhodyukta Shakti Sena Samandita. Bhandasuravadhodyukta Shakti Sena Samandita. Next line. Sampatkari Samarudha. Sampatkari Samarudha. Sampatkari Samarudha. Sindhuravraja-sevita. 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 Sampatkari Samarudha Sindhuravraja-sevita. Sampatkari Samarudha Sindhuravraja-sevita. Sampatkari Samarudha Sindhuravraja-sevita. Next line. Ashvarudhadhishtitashva. 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 Koti koti bhiravruta. Koti koti bhiravruta. Koti koti bhiravruta. So this line is very, very challenging because of the sound combinations and also the combination of the Mahapranas and retroflex sounds. So one thing you can do is I would recommend looking at a copy of Devi Padakas, the temple publication, because what we've done is we have added hyphens in a lot of places to make it much, much easier to read the line and understand how to pronounce it. So many times in some, depending on what document you're using, the entire line of a stotram could be like all one word, which makes it very, very challenging to read and learn. So if you don't have a copy of Devi Padakas, another thing that you can do is take a pencil and just very lightly add some slashes to break up some of the longer words and chunks of syllables. And that will make it a little bit easier for your eye to actually read those. Okay, so I'll do this line, the first and second half, a couple more times, just because it is challenging. Ashvarudhadhishtitashva. अश्वारूढाधिष्ठिताश्व कोटिकोटिभिरावृता कोटिकोटिभिरावृता. Now the full line. अश्वारूढाधिष्ठिताश्व कोटिकोटिभिरावृता अश्वारूढाधिष्ठिताश्व कोटिकोटिभिरावृता अश्वारूढाधिष्ठिताश्व कोटिकोटिभिरावृता. Okay, so that's the 25th shloka. So just want to pause there and see if there are any questions. Okay, so then I'll go back to the 21st shloka and chant the last 5 as a review. Sarvarunanavatyangi sarvabharanabhushita शिवकामेश्वराङ्गस्था शिवा स्वाधीना वल्लभा सुमेरुमध्यशृङ्गस्था श्रीमन्नगरनायिका चिन्तामणिगृहान्तस्था पञ्चब्रह्मासनस्थिता महापद्माटवी संस्था कदम्बवनवासिनी सुधासागरमध्यस्था कामाक्षि कामदायिनी देवर्षिगणसङ्घातस्तूयमानात्मवैभवा भण्डासुरवधोद्युक्तशक्तिसेना समन्विता सम्पत्करी समारूढ सिन्धुरव्रजसेविता अश्वारूढाधिष्ठिताश्व कोटिकोटिभिरावृता. Okay, so it's 8:35 and we'll pause there after completing the 25th shloka. So thank you very much for joining and we'll see you in the next class next week. Sri Gurubhyo Namaha, Shri Matre Namaha.
Tomorrow we are having total eclipse here, same.